Good evening, everybody. My name is Todd Scholl. I'm the lead learner at the South Carolina Education Association's Center for Educator Wellness and Learning. We call ourselves COOL. You can find more about us at cool.us. That's CEWL.us. If you are in a public school or district in South Carolina and you would like some free professional learning, all you have to do is go to the website, fill out the form that's on the homepage. I'll get in touch with you. We'll coordinate, find a good date and time for us to come and do some relevant and engaging professional learning. That's what we're here for, to come and do face-to-face sessions with you. But we also have these live sessions, and we're really excited to bring these to you on a regular basis. And we record each one, and we post them to the COOL website. So there's a whole repository of really cool professional learning sessions that we've done, live stream events and conversations that we've had. We hope that you'll visit the COOL website, again, at cool.us. Also would like you to connect with us at the South Carolina Education Association. You can do that by going to the scea.org/connect. And you can join us now. Look at the bottom of the screen. Go to jointhescea.org or text the word 48744. The word join to 48744. You can join the SCEA now. And what's really, really cool is we're in what's called early enrollment. What that means is that you can join the SCEA now and you won't pay any dues for May, June, July, or August. So you won't pay any dues until September. So you can join at no cost until September and start enjoying some of the great benefits that we have. Start joining us in this movement to create the kind of schools that all educators and students deserve. So we hope that you'll consider doing that and join our movement. We'd like you to, we know we've had won some battles, lost some battles in the State House this year. Of course, 6 weeks, I think, paid leave for teachers went through, which is great. We're the first, I think, state in the Southeast to offer that. And we're so thankful for the leaders at our state that provided that for our teachers, that paid family leave that was given to state employees, but not to teachers. And now we're getting it to teachers, and that's great. We lost the battle over vouchers. The censorship battle's not looking good, but we want to take a time to thank the state leaders that stood up for us and stood against censorship. And if you'd like to do that, you can go to the scea.org/pro-truth. So we hope that you will consider doing that. I'm coming to you live from the mountains of North Carolina this week. I first of all want to stop and just talk about something that happened in my life personally this about 2 weeks ago. My mom passed away on May 2nd. So it was actually 2 weeks ago today. And I also want to thank everybody who's reached out to me. My mom was an educator. She taught at an early childhood, elementary, which in the beginning of her career, and then in her later career taught high school math. Wonderful teacher, and someone who had such a profound impact on my life and the life of my kids, the life of everybody that she interacted with. And I just want to thank everybody. It was a tough Mother's Day. I hope you had a wonderful Mother's Day and that you celebrated your moms. And if you're a mom, that you were celebrated. And that if you're just a woman, that, it would be great if we just celebrated all women on that day. But I hope that you were celebrated, and I'm celebrating Mother Earth this week as well. So without further ado, I want to bring on tonight's guest. Our guest tonight, this is really an interesting conversation we're going to have. She, her teaching career spans 3 decades. She has a MFA in creative writing and spent 10 years practicing meditation and teaching writing at the college level in Kyoto, Japan. Since returning to the U.S. in 2011, she's been working with English learners and other underserved students in public schools in the San Francisco Bay Area. Her work has been featured at a Mindful Youth Conference sponsored by the Center for Mindfulness at UC San Diego, in UC Berkeley's Greater Good Science magazine, and in an anthology titled Educating Mindfully, Stories of School Transformation Through Mindfulness. Without further ado, let's bring on Laura Bean. How are you doing tonight, Laura?
I'm well. Thank you so much. And I'm so sorry for your loss.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, thank you so much for saying that. Did I miss anything in your bio that you want to share with everybody?
Just that I have my first book out March 1st, Right to the Core. and I was very excited to share a little bit about it.
Yeah, congratulations on that. That's great.
Thank you.
Before we get to the book and right to the core, which is the title of the live stream, let's talk about how did you get into the field of education, and then maybe how did you discover mindfulness, and bring those two worlds together.
Okay. Well, I'm a lifelong teacher. I started teaching in the Peace Corps in Ecuador right out of college, and have worked in adult education. And as you mentioned, I spent 10 years teaching in Japan, and have now been about 12 years in the public schools in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I teach English learners and also regular English classes in Richmond, California. And in terms of the mindfulness, that's also been a lifelong journey. And it's been a very, very natural thing to want to share what's been so pivotal in my life with young people. And so, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Awesome. So, mindfulness and writing. Let's talk a little bit about, like, I'm thinking about, ever since you and I had that initial conversation about, like, how these two worlds really kind of support one another, how writing can support a mindfulness practice, and how mindfulness can support a writing practice. Can you talk a little bit about that, about the connection between writing and mindfulness that you see?
Yeah, so mindfulness is about being present, being aware of what's happening both inside yourself and around you. It's really developing that awareness and attention to detail. And this is also what poetry is about. And of course, poetry is very much a part of mindfulness communities. And so, as my work as an English teacher, I really saw an opportunity to encourage students to write about what's in their hearts, and to develop their academic writing skills as well as their social emotional learning.
Sorry, I wanted to move inside where I think the Wi-Fi is a little bit
Oh,
strong.
great. Okay, good.
Yeah,
Glad to see you again.
yeah.
I'm glad to see you again.
Um, so your personal practice, how did you get started with your with a personal mindfulness practice, and kind of maybe describe about, like, what you do in terms of your daily practice, and then like some of the teachers or some of the folks have been influential to you in that part of the work.
Hmm. Well, I've been, I came to meditation through yoga practice. And, in my early 20s, just dealing with a lot of anxiety. And so it's been a long journey. I've been involved in Zen and Tibetan. My teacher that I worked with in Japan was actually a Tibetan Buddhism practitioner. And so I worked closely with him and our community and a community of practitioners for 10 years while I was there. And I forget what the rest of your I'm sorry, what the rest of your question was there.
Well, I just had asked you, like, what your daily practice was. Like, do you have, like, a sitting practice, like that kind of thing? Like, what's your daily practice, and then, like, some of your influences on that practice. But
Yeah. So I listen to the app called Calm.
yeah,
I listen to that every day, and I think it's fantastic.
yeah.
I usually, like, I'll listen to the Calm app and then, add 10 or 15 more minutes on my timer on my iPhone. So it's, I keep it up. I do the best I can, with working full time. But it's very much, standing up in front of a classroom of teenagers, something that I call on throughout the day. And I've gathered a couple of my colleagues. We try to sit together on Wednesday morning before school. So having just a few colleagues at school that are also interested in mindfulness, it really helps. And the administration at my school, they're also supportive, and they've invited me to share a mindful minute in with the full faculty.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that some this year as well. So just wanting to make the school environment a healthier one, for all of us, for the teachers, and for the students. And here we are. It's like, almost, we're just like the last few weeks of school. So everybody's pretty tired, and just wanting to, I just feel like it's just so important to just try incrementally, just to make it a healthier environment, and to address the social emotional concerns that are just so rampant.
Right, right. Um, you know, what I imagine some people that are in excitement in your neighborhood. Um,
Could you hear that? Sorry for.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
okay. A lot of people that hear this term mindfulness, and then they bring it in. You're talking about bringing it into a school, and in South Carolina, we're talking about into a public school. Is there any research to suggest like what mindfulness, the impact of mindfulness on, say, on students, on writing, what kind of research is out there to support integrating mindfulness into the school?
Well, there's definitely been research on the benefits of people that are of young people that are exposed to social emotional learning programs. Like, I think there's something like 11% academic gain for students that are exposed to those programs. And I think when you're faced with the academic tasks at school, and also all of the interpersonal challenges, to be able to practice mindfulness, and it's how it benefits people with in terms of regulating their emotions, and being able to make wiser decisions, and also to self-soothe. All of these skills are just incredibly important, for students, and for all of the adults, for the adults in the room, and in the building.
What what does it look like, um, from the perspective of a student who's sitting in the classroom with and experiencing one of your lessons? What is that like? Can you kind of walk us through that?
Um, yeah, so the lessons are centered around an anchor poem, and I will begin with tapping the students' background knowledge on whatever theme we're addressing. So whether that's self compassion, or gratitude, or forgiveness. Um, and then we'll move into a brief mindfulness practice. And I always like to begin those with movement. So much as of the work is about inviting students to come back to their body, and ground in their feet, and in their seat. And I'll be honest with you, it is not easy. um, there's so much screen activity. It's not just the laptop, but it's the laptop and the cell phone. And so there's just it's tremendously challenging. The school that I taught at last year, we were able to, the students came in and they didn't have laptops in their backpacks. There was a cart in the room, which I was made sure to have under lock and key. So when the kids came in, they would, make a beeline over to the cart to get their laptop, and as much as I could, for us to come and center together as a community, before it's like Zoom, they're lost in their screens.
Yeah.
So I don't have that luxury this year. So as much as possible, I try to bring the students up to the front of the room to lead practices, and that has happened, which has been really wonderful. Um, and I do it for myself. So even if I'm, the only one, in the classroom that's practicing, um, it's beneficial, and I think it sends a message to the students that's one that they don't hear often, which is it's okay to pause. It's okay to relax and to settle into the present moment. um, and so anyway, we do the mindfulness, a long way of answering that, but we do a mindfulness practice, and then I the teacher or myself will read the poem, and then work through just appreciations, and and then they have an opportunity to write their own version of the poem. And I do have some slides that go into more in depth about the lessons.
Yeah.
So
So why did you choose poetry as a sort of a focal point of the curriculum?
um, poetry is, like I said before, it is a mindful. It's it 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 it's like a gateway into mindfulness. Through the five senses, and offers us a new perspective on life. um, and it's something that I love, something that's helped me, and especially in terms of writing and journaling, and so yeah, I just felt like they're just two wonderful gifts to be able to offer together.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like poetry is kind of like a also not an intimidating place to start with writing, because you can be so expressive in it, and you're not saying you got to write a 10-page paper. It's like let's just focus on maybe how you're feeling, or uh,
Yeah.
some of the emotions you're feelings. And I know that your curriculum is very structured in that it deals with different topics like self-compassion,
Mhm.
forgiveness, that kind of thing. So how do you choose, like, what topics to integrate in with the poetry? How was that process like?
Well, I really wanted to focus on just like the main things, like where we often talk with poetry about, like identity, and that's something that's so relevant to teens.
Yeah.
Identity is one aspect, and then mindfulness practice, and the value of just being present. And then, as you mentioned, self compassion is definitely something that's woven through all of the lessons. And then it kind of expands outward into then offering empathy and compassion for others.
Yeah. Um, what have you seen in terms of? I know. Do you have some slides you want to share, or do you want me to just go on to the next question? Because I'll be happy.
Yeah,
I want to try to.
if that might be nice to be able to
Yeah,
share.
I think it'd be good if you have slides to share, to sort
Okay,
of
yeah.
illustrate some of this. It give people
Let's see here.
more information about the curriculum specifically, and then I've got a few
Yeah.
follow-up questions.
Okay, pull this up here. Okay, so yeah, so as I said, it is a place. Let's see. I don't see you here. Um,
That tab where it's present probably again. That
let's
tab,
see.
yeah, because you're not the slides aren't up yet.
Oh, they're not up yet. Okay.
Because you'll have to hit present. So
Okay. Thought
yeah,
I did here.
try it again.
Uh, share entire screen. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Let's see.
Yeah, and then I'll pop it on, and then you just go over to the tab with the Google Slides, and we should be
I
good.
want to share. Hmm, I'm sorry, I don't know. It's present and then share
Green, yeah.
screen. Okay. Um, okay, I think this will work.
There we go.
Can you see them?
Yep. Let's see. There we go. There, perfect. Now let me just take my little graphic off, and we're good to go. All right, so go for it.
All righty. Um, so this is a way to connect, as I mentioned, social emotional learning within academic content. So this is and my vision here is like I said, to create a healing centered, and as you mentioned, around developing students' emotional intelligence in an English language development class. And and I really developed it out of frustration with the purely academic content that I was being asked to teach, and just really seeing how important it was to connect with students' emotional lives and their lives outside of school. Um, so Okay, and I just I can't see you. Let me see if I can.
Okay, you're good.
Okay,
You can hear me.
alrighty.
Everything looks good. So
I can hear you. Okay, great,
yeah.
great. And then, so in the curriculum, there are 12 lessons, and they're centered around a poem. And as I said, I've had a dozen years now in the public schools, and so I really was able to kind of just notice that there's this emotional arc of the school year. Where the students and the teachers come in, and there's some excitement around the beginning of the school year, hopefully, and then it kind of tends to like go down into some low points, in November and December, and then so that's a place where we really talk about gratitude and self compassion, and then we come up into the new year, and there's kind of renewed optimism in January, and we talk about habits there, and then move into empathy and forgiveness, which can be more challenging topics to really step outside of yourself and offer love and support for others. And then it ends on joy. Uh, so those are the lessons, and these are the themes that I've mentioned in the four kind of core themes: identity, mindfulness, self-compassion, and empathy. And so there are poems that are connected, of course, with each of these, from like Song of Myself from Walt Whitman, is around the theme of identity, or Pablo Neruda's Keeping Quiet for mindfulness. And for self-compassion, example is Kindness by Naomi Shihab Nye. And St. Francis and the Sow is a poem that I share for a lesson on empathy and compassion. So, and I'm going to share so this is just kind of an overview of the steps in the lesson. So from the quick write, then moving into, as I said, a brief practice, then reading the poem, and then The students can just kind of share words or phrases that they appreciated, images that they appreciated from the poem, and just kind of very kind of a visceral sense of, what is the poem saying to them, so it's not like at it's just kind of from the gut, and just really from the love of the words. And there's really no right answer there. And then we move into a more, analytical, looking at, discussing theme, and using context clues to decipher vocabulary, and the poetic tools that are used in the poem. And then they actually move into brainstorming ideas to write their own version of the poems. And there are writing work play sheets, I call them, that are one's a more basic one for English learners, or maybe more like for middle school students, and then intermediate and advanced sheets. And I'll just give you a quick look at. So
Yeah,
this
that's great.
is one of the uh, one of the lessons that's further on in the curriculum, that's around empathy and compassion. Uh, Reteaching a thing its loveliness, St. Francis and the Sow. So this is so after the mindfulness practice, and then reading the poem, the students get a copy of this. Is a closed listening activity, where I pulled out some vocabulary that may be more challenging, and you can discuss the vocabulary ahead of time, but then read it a second time, and then the students fill in the missing words here. And then this is an example of text-dependent questions. So I was very mindful in creating the curriculum that it did meet, academic reading and writing standards. So these are some of those questions, and they write a text response where they um, look at the theme, the poem, and cite uh, textual evidence. So they quote from the poem, and then write a personal reflection. Um, and this is an example of one of the basic writing worksheet, and where they can brainstorm words in different categories, and then use those to fill in. I don't know if you can see the at the bottom, but it's kind of like people said, oh, it's kind of like a Mad Libs, where they fill in. And then for the English learners or more basic students to then draw a picture here.
Yeah.
And then this is a more intermediate, which there's a much more of the original poem.
Okay.
And yeah, so the worksheets they follow the use of repetition, or just encouraging them to be the specificity and the use of detail in the original poems. So and the students really come up with some, I think, pretty great sounding work. And even though it's the templates really support them, for everyone to really feel successful at it. And they really are really able to get their heart and soul in it, because oftentimes I'll ask students if they want to read, and sometimes they'll be, oh no, it's too personal. So they do make them their own. So this is just one example, based on the poem St. Francis and the Sow. I don't know if maybe I should read the original, or just read the student version.
And that's your call.
Okay, I think I'll read the original too, just to give you a sense of where it begins. So it's St. Francis and the Sow by Galway Canal. The bud stands for all things, even for those things that don't flower, for everything flowers from within of self blessing. Though sometimes it is necessary to reteach a thing its loveliness, to put a hand on the brow of the flower and retell it in words and in touch. It is lovely until it flowers again from within of self blessing. As St. Francis put his hand on the creased forehead of the sow and told her in words and in touch, blessings of earth on the sow. And the sow began remembering all down her thick length, from the earthen snout all the way through the fodder and slops to the spiritual curl of the tail, from the hard spininess spiked out from the spine, down through the great broken heart, to the sheer blue milken dreaminess spurting and shuddering, from the 14 teats into the 14 mouths, sucking and blowing beneath them, the long, perfect loveliness of Sow. So this poem um, really invites us to recall, to remember, and to celebrate the beauty of something that's of an animal that's often dismissed or could be despised. So this student's version, she's writing about the shark, and it's entitled "Audacious Jaw." Um, Sometimes it is necessary to reteach a thing its loveliness, to put a hand on the audacious jaw of the shark and retell it in words and in touch. They are feisty. And the shark began remembering all down their awesome body, from the sharp teeth all the way through their sturdy tail, blessings of the ocean on the shark. May they remember their confidence, the audacious, ambitious confidence of the shark.
Wow, that's awesome.
Thank you. This poem was written by a very I would say shy and reserved student that I have. She's a 12th grade student, and she's a very good student. And in this poem, I think was really able to channel some fierce energy
Hmm.
in that. And the other thing I wanted to share. This is from the poem "The Summer Day" by Mary Oliver, and this poem is about settling into the moment, falling into the grass, and just appreciating the wonder of a grasshopper. Um, and Let's see here. It's called "The Summer Day." Who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean, the one who has flung herself out of the grass, the one who is eating sugar out of my hand, who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down, who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last and too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?
Mm.
So I was just sharing this with students the last week or so, and invited them to write their own versions and to record themselves. So I have
Awesome.
a student. This is Andrew is also a 12th grade student, but kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum from Alma, who wrote The Audacious Jaw. He's a special ed student, and somebody that I really haven't heard much from in this school year. So it was really wonderful to really see him shine with this writing activity. And presenting. So, if I may,
Yeah, please.
okay.
Hope the audio works.
Yeah, and I also have he. As you might see, he recorded this in the hall outside of our classroom, and so if it's a little hard to understand at any point, I on the next slide I have the text, so we
Okay.
can read it.
Fingers crossed.
The title is The Lion's Life. Who made the lion?
Oops, sorry. I'll try it again here.
The title is The Lion's Life. Who made the lion? The one who has to hunt, the one who is powerful, who is unbreakable. I don't know exactly what life is. I do know how to use my mindfulness, how to chase my dreams, how to move forward. Tell me why is love so hard to find? Tell me when I can be myself.
And what did your poem mean to you?
It meant that
Okay, and then I'm going to.
the title is The Lion's Life.
See. So this is the copy of his poem.
Hmm.
I don't know how it was to hear, but
Yeah, I heard it fine. Yeah.
okay, great.
Yeah.
So when I said I felt like using like they haven't really taken like ducks to water in terms of the mindfulness, but a number of students wrote about it in their poems. So
Yeah.
I do know how to use my mindfulness. Like, but fantastic.
Right.
How to chase my dreams, how to move forward. And then the next one, he'll just talk about his. So the beauty of this was, it was a collaborative project where working with a partner, they revised their poems, added details, and then rehearsed and recorded. And then she asked him a couple of questions, reflection questions about what it felt like to write the poem. So
So what did your poem mean to you?
It means that no matter what, don't ever look at the past, look at the future. So what I mean is uh, when I mean be powerful, I mean to always move forward and chase your dreams and more like be yourself.
Okay, and how did it feel to express yourself through a poem?
It felt good because I'm really, not really comfortable with other people. So like it expressed a lot when I wrote this poem because it's about being powerful and never being unbreakable. Because in life you can't be, broken. You got to move forward and enjoy what you have.
mm.
So what did your poem mean to you?
Sorry. Let's see
That's
here.
okay.
Okay. Yeah, and so this is the
Let's see.
description.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Yeah, so I mean, this is kind of what keeps me in the classroom. I mean, these kids teach me, all the time, and just to be an appreciation, and it helps for kids that are, that come from underprivileged environments to really step up, and like this is just a beautiful example of the kids, um, just letting their I mean, the one person's got a device in their hand, but they're using their device, to share something that they've created themselves,
Right.
and so yeah, so it's just pretty fantastic. So, and I think yeah, that's it. And this is
Okay.
my website, and
Okay. So if people want to connect with you, they would go to Laura Bean at Mindful Literacy. Oh, that's the email, Laura Bean at mindfulliteracy.com. And then
yes,
they can find you on socials at Laura Bean Mindful Literacy.
yes,
Okay,
thank you.
great. So this reminds me, when I was in the class, the last time I was in the classroom, I was very, very lucky in my last year of teaching at the high school level. It was the 2010-11 school year. I begged my principal. I said, "Can we have a hip hop class where students write their own original hip hop music and produce their own original hip hop music?" We called the class "Pass the Mic." And the rule was, there were rules around what the content could be and that kind of thing. And I had a student, and he had the coolest name ever. His name was Rise Freeman, which I think is the coolest name I've ever heard of. And what he did was he took "Still I Rise" by Maya Angelou and
Mhm.
wrote a whole song from his perspective, uh, based off of that poem.
Beautiful.
Um, and so the students were creating all this content, and then these high school students would create the music. We had about 5 or 6 songs down, and then we would go to festivals, or we would go to middle schools and perform the music. And I think this is really important because, whether it's through poetry or through music, certain types of music, I think there are a lot of young people where the school's not really got an outlet for that kind of creativity, and they need it. It's more of
Mhm.
like a structured thing on poetry, or a more structured thing like a choral department, doing traditional musicals, or like a band, playing traditional instruments. And I think there needs to be these other pockets for young people to express themselves. And what I love about what you're doing is it's not just the teaching of poetry, it's the integration of social emotional learning into the poetry, which is really, and I love the name, that sort of, the play on words, the right to the core,
Yeah.
which is
Mhm.
getting to that core, the inner core, so that students aren't just thinking about writing as this mechanical process, but they're thinking about from this artistic lens, and this lens of expressing it deep parts of themselves, because that's the poetry that lasts, right? That's the poetry that
Right.
we're still reading centuries later. The stuff
Right.
where human beings tapped into something that resonates 100, 200 years later with us today, and you're like, oh, I still
Yeah.
feel that today.
Yeah.
And so I love what you're doing. Um,
Thank you.
if people want to learn more, you got the website, but what would be your recommendation for teachers, ELA teachers, or other teachers who might be watching this and want to integrate mindfulness into their lessons on poetry or writing?
Mhm.
What are the recommendations do you have for them? What have been stumbling blocks for you, or what are some things that they need to make sure they think about as they do that?
Mhm. Well, my mentor is Dr. Amy Saltzman, who wrote "Still Quiet Place." I don't know; it's been maybe 10 or 15 years ago now, and she wrote the foreword to my book, and so she's been a great inspiration for me. As well as Mindful Schools, and so I did a year-long program with them, become for a mindful educator program,
Yeah.
and so I think in both cases, with both, just really encouraging teachers to develop their own practice, and that whether you end up sharing mindfulness with your students or not, to uh, to learn ourselves how to practice greater self-regulation, and really it's a ton of self-care and self-compassion for ourselves, is really the first step,
I
and
love that.
go ahead.
I love that you said that, because that's the thing that I really try to focus on in the work when I do mindfulness sessions with teachers, or we talk about trauma informed practices. It's like, if you're not, you have to sort of understand it from a personal lens. Like you can't teach mindfulness to young people if you're not practicing mindfulness and you don't really understand what it's about. I don't think you can
Oh,
certainly
yeah.
not do it effectively. So I love the idea of what you're saying. It's like, yeah, for teachers out there who are watching this, who might be interested in doing it, it's like, yeah, but integrate the SEL practices on that personal level first, so
Mhm.
that they're hardwired into you, because that makes, I think, the connection to the curriculum more authentic.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, just, as much as possible, just trying to be real with students, and sharing, your frustrations, and the times when, you haven't been your best, and to be real and to see that we're all there as humans, as human beings, is really is just so important, and I know for myself, like just dealing with all the, the uh, dif- digital difficulties, where I'll actually, when I have a student that actually make eye contact with me and they're listening and they're present, I thank them, thank you for being here, and it's these, just these little wins, because it really is a very, very challenging time, to be in the classroom. But yeah, I'm excited about the videos. I think that's really fun. And yeah, and it's just the creativity that just keeps flowing, is really, really what keeps me going, and yeah.
And have you ever done anything where the students will maybe read some of their poetry at like an event, like a poetry reading? Have you ever organized anything like at a coffee shop or at the school where the students read
Um,
stuff?
Normally the students, we create an anthology at the end of the school year. So that's been really fun, and really to help the students to move through, all the steps in the writing process, and to illustrate their work. So that really brings a lot of the artists in the classroom, brings them on board. So yeah, and we've done just like, informal, just like within our class, stuff. I think that's a good suggestion, and hopefully, next
Yeah.
year I'll be able to do more along those lines, and more public presentation.
Yeah, when I've worked with teachers, I've always said one of the magical moments in my career was when we started creating content for people besides me, like to evaluate it by a rubric and give it a grade and hand it back to them, even
Yeah.
or for the class. Like once we started creating content, and I said, okay, we're going to record this and put it on YouTube, or we're
Mm,
going to go to another school and present this or whatever. It really kind of, I think what it does, it takes it beyond an assignment, and it becomes like
yeah.
this mission. Like I really got to make this good, because
Yeah.
other people are going to see it, or it might go viral or whatever. So
Right.
I think it's a special energy that it brings to the work.
Yeah.
It's really
Definitely.
comfortable with it. So um,
Definitely.
what have we not covered that you want to make sure that we share tonight?
I think that's about everything. I mean, my book is available on Amazon,
Okay,
right to the core, and
right to
uh,
the core by Laura Bean.
yeah,
Right.
and I'm definitely, interested in doing trainings. If there's any groups that are interested, and
Okay.
so that's about all. It's
All
very,
right.
very nice to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, and same here. And if you see Amy, tell her I said hello and thank her for the connection, Dr. Amy Saltzman. Just appreciate the connection that she made here for us tonight. And I know her work has been Still Quiet Place, and then I know she does a lot of work with athletes too, with
That's
mindfulness and
Mhm.
athletics, which I think a lot of our coaches and athletes might be interested in learning more about that work. So
Yeah, definitely.
Dr. Amy Saltzman for sure.
Mhm.
Well, Laura, thank you so much for joining us all the way across the country. I wish you a wonderful rest of your week and appreciate the time you spent with us tonight.
Thank you so much, Todd.
Take care, Laura.
Okay. Bye.
That's Laura Bean, author of Write to the Core. That's WRITE, Write to the Core. Thank you so much to Laura for being here tonight. Thanks to everybody who tuned in. We had Jeff, we had Mary Rita. I know Todd, our executive director, tuned in. Thanks so much. I want to remind everybody who's watching, at the bottom of your screen, we are in early enrollment. If you want to join us at the SCEA, now's the best time to do it. Is join the SCEA.org, or you can get on your phone and text the word join to 48744. You won't pay any dues for May, June, July, August. You won't pay any dues until September. Check us out. Get to be a part of the movement that is building the kind of schools that you and your students deserve. And we're so excited about the growth that we've seen in this past year. We are just exploding in growth at the SCEA, and we want you to be a part of it. We want you to be a part. We want to hear your voice, your thoughts, your concerns. We need your energy, and if we all just come together, we can fight for things that'll make our lives better and make our students' lives better. You can find tonight's live stream on the Cool website. It'll be sometime later this week. Along with all of the live stream events that we do, you go to cool.us, that's CEWL.us, and you can also find on the homepage a form where you can request free professional learning from Cool and from the SCEA. We'll come to your school. We'll do free professional learning. We've got a variety of topics that we can cover. You won't have to pay travel. You won't have to pay anything. Free professional learning. And we would love to connect with you at your school. If you would like to thank the senators, the folks that stood up against censorship in our state, go to the scea.org/pro-truth. If you don't want to join yet, but you just want to learn more about the SCEA and connect with us, go to the scea.org/connect. We invite you to do that. And last plug here, let me take this banner off, is our Educator Mindfulness Retreat. So we spoke about mindfulness and writing tonight. If you would like to experience a mindfulness retreat, we have just a few slots left open. It's going to be June 14th through 16th at the Quietude Retreat Center in beautiful Black Mountain, North Carolina. It's up here in the western part of the state in the Pisgah National Forest. We're going to do a secular science-based and trauma-sensitive retreat. It's designed by educators. It's for educators. You just go to the Cool website, cool.us, and look for the retreat tab at the top. Like I said, we've got about 3 or 4 spots left for our retreat, and we would love to have you. So we hope that if you have any interest in that you'll visit that website and check us out soon, or share that with folks who you think might be interested. Well, thanks again to Laura Bean. Thank you for tuning in tonight. And we will see you on our next live stream. I think the next one is going to be on May 30th with Dr. Ram Bhagat. He's going to be talking about restorative practices and diversity, equity, and inclusion around this kind of work, around SEL work, mindfulness, and our public schools. So thanks again. Have a wonderful night, and we'll see you on the next live stream.